I mean, it's depressing. I mean, you fight so hard and, you know, it just keeps going. Um, so I guess the goal is now is, to stay somewhat positive and just stay alive.
Welcome, everybody, to Chino y Chicano.
I'm Matt Chan, the Chino.
I'm Enrique Cerna, the Chicano. Well, it's been about 6 months since we've talked about Matt's cancer, and that's almost been 2 years, actually, since he was diagnosed. And we thought we'd come back to this journey, this challenge that Matt has had to endure. And the challenge continues, Matt, and some tough news lately. Where are we at?
Well, the last time we spoke, the immunotherapy was sort of going south on me. It was starting to attack my body, the good tissue. Had some joint issues, which resulted in, um, well, a number of things. One was was losing vision in my right eye, so I have
Mm.
partially lost the vision in my right eye. My kidneys were compromised, so that was not good, and my knee and my hip uh, accelerated some arthritic stuff to the point where I need a hip replacement now because of it.
Yeah.
So they stopped all the cancer medications for a while, put me on heavy doses of prednisone to kind of get my kidneys back. Like the doctor said, there's always casualties on the battlefield. So I think my kidneys are still not where they were. They've been compromised. And so also, because I've been on and off the cancer meds, I mean, the immunotherapy is off the table. And any form of that would be the same result that would probably attack the good tissue. So they had me on just a single medication, the targeted chemo, but that was also compromising my kidneys too. So they paused that for a while, on and off. And so I was off it for quite a bit. And, the chances of the cancer coming back were much higher. Um, and so this last scan I had at the beginning of January showed that, yes, indeed, the cancer had come back in different places. I have
Mm.
spots on my liver, on my spine, and a couple other areas. So it's concerning. I mean, it's one of those things where, it's there's no cure. So it's a matter of they keep it at bay until it no longer works, and then they try something else. So they've put me on it. They're going to put me on a new uh, cancer medication regimen. I've yet to start that. They need to do a bone scan to make sure that there aren't any other spots of cancer anywhere else. Um, so that's sort of the latest. I mean, it's depressing. I mean, you
Yeah.
fight so hard and, you know, it just keeps going. Um, so I guess the goal is now is, to stay somewhat positive and just stay alive. So
Yeah.
that's sort of a rough outlook. I mean, I'm a realist. It's been what, almost 2 years, probably, 1 3/4 year living with this. And so my life has been compromised for sure. I mean, I need to walk with a cane most of the time just to unload my hip. Um, and they had scheduled me for a hip replacement surgery, but I think that needs to be delayed, considering the new medication has to have time to see if it actually works or not.
Hmm.
So we'll know that. So there's a lot of stuff right now.
Wow.
I feel very fatigued. That's really the main symptom, and I don't know if it's coming off the prednisone, which I was on for almost 6 months.
That's a
You
long
know,
time to be on prednisone.
oh yeah, and so they don't know if it's that or the cancer. So they
Yeah.
said, look, we don't know. So they said, let's just call it the prednisone. So
Yeah.
I guess that's what we'll do.
And when you're on prednisone for that amount of time, there is kind of this, I don't know if it's a withdrawal thing, but the impact tends to be what you're going through, right?
Yeah, they say the withdrawals could last from anywhere from a couple of weeks to 6 months. So it's hard to say what's going on.
One of the things that's, well, a number of things that's difficult about all this is the fact that there's the cancer, but then in the treatments, it has the impact, side effects, all these other things. It seems like that's one of the things you've had to battle a lot.
Oh, the side effects are, you come to live with it. I mean, being on the prednisone when I was off the medication, I felt great, and life was good, but I knew it wasn't going to last long. So the new medication will have similar side effects, according to it, but there's other types of side effects that aren't real pleasant. So we'll see. I mean, like again, it's one of those things is what's your alternative, right? I mean, if I gave up, the cancer would consume me and who knows how long I would have. This way, I've got somewhat of a time horizon. But again, as always, I mean, I'm not making plans, that far in advance because you just don't know. I mean, that's
Right.
the problem. You don't know.
So you're not like at a stage 1 or 2 or 3. Because of what they found with the lesions, or is that still relatively early?
I think it's pretty early. There's very small. Everything that's appeared is very small. So hopefully, if I get in this medication, it can arrest it. Um, but uh, I don't know. I mean, it's ongoing.
How has the doctor or maybe doctors, how do they seem when they tell you this? I mean, are they still hopeful that they can battle things?
The doctors are very careful about giving you false hope. But so it's just kind of like, here's the plan. Here's what we'll do. Um, I mean, I'm sure they feel confident that this is something they've tried before. And I mean, so, you know, the drugs stop when the drugs stop working. That's a normal thing from what I understand. I mean, that just happens. I mean, I've
Mhm.
got a couple of friends that are going through this. One in particular, the cancer keeps coming back, and now they've changed to a different kind of therapy that is going to be more severe. Um, so we communicate because I'm sure they know exactly what I'm going through, and I know exactly what they're going through.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that we talked about after you got the news of this latest scan is that you just wanted to have some time to kind of ponder
Hmm.
about what to do and or how to deal with all this. And I kind of find myself feeling uh I want to be there. I know your other friends, James Burns and Eugene Tagawa, are a little gang of four. We want to be there for you. But it's tough because, you know, there, we can listen and we can be supportive, but it's like we feel a little bit hopeless and like we can't help you like the way we'd like to. Um, I don't know. How are you taking all of this?
This has not been easy. I mean, it's you internalize a lot of it. You kind of think about what future you possibly could have. Um, I mean, there were times when I was feeling pretty bad, and you can kind of get to a place where you go like, yeah, I can see you can get to a point where you say, okay, enough. I mean, I look back at my life and I look back upon this year, and I've accomplished a lot. People ask me, goes, "What's on your bucket list?" And I go, "There's really nothing on my bucket list
Hmm.
other than I don't know. I mean, there's nothing that I haven't done or seen or I mean, of course, there's always something. The main thing revolves around your family.
Right.
But the reality is, everyone checks out and the family continues on. I mean, that's what family's about. So, um, I mean, there's always going to be another milestone to look forward to. But at some point, regardless of having cancer or not, or just old age, that's just part of life. And so you just have to kind of keep putting things in perspective. I mean, I don't lose sleep over it. Um, but it's constantly on your mind because you have to process it. It takes a while.
Yeah. What I said before about with the guy is that this sense of feeling. I didn't mean to say hopeless. I meant to say helpless. And I just want you to know that, because I still have hope and um, I will until I will. That's all there is to it. How's the family taking it?
It's hard to say. I mean, everybody processes it differently. So I'm not surprised at any reaction. Um, it's just a part of life that people have to deal with. I mean, I've lost all my immediate family. I mean, they've all passed away. So I understand what death is about. I've been there when people have died. So I understand what that transition is like. So it's less scary to me, but it is scary. Of course it's scary.
Mhm.
But like I said, I see there will come a time when you just say, I've had enough. It's time. And, and but hopefully that's not for a while. Hopefully, I mean, it's one of those things where, again, it's the unknown. If I mean, I felt sort of this way before I went on the initial um, treatment, and so when you begin to start a new one, you have the same thoughts. It's like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? And you just got to think, like, with the experience of the doctors. I'm at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center, that they know what they're doing. I mean, they didn't use terms like, well, we'll try this, it's been known to work or something. They just kind of just said, look, this is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
Um, and so we'll see.
So they still have a game plan, or
Yes, they always have a game plan.
right?
Yeah. I mean, their
Yeah,
job is to keep you alive as long as you can, as long as
yeah,
you can.
yeah. Well, I hope I want you to stay strong so that we can just continue to be there
Yeah.
and continue to do this. For one thing, I think let's. Uh, do you feel like this sense of like, okay, I just got to stay active?
Oh, of course. I mean, I was active this whole summer. I mean, I was working on Tanya Wu's campaign.
Right.
I volunteered on that campaign, did the commercials, and I'm involved with her now. Uh,
Trying
kind
to get her
of
on the council.
applying
Yeah.
for the vacancy, and
Right.
so that's been interesting. I mean, a lot of things have happened. I was fortunate enough to be named, one of the 25
Right.
most influential people by Seattle Magazine, which is an honor.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that just came out of the blue. But when you look at kind of the stuff that I've done, um, I mean, it was a good recognition because I do stuff under the radar. I don't really, you know me. I just like do what I do because it interests me. And when something interests me and I try to learn it, it does take my mind off what's happening to me.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, you've been active in the community in the CID. Both you and Guy, your wife, have been there and dealing with the issue of the homeless shelter, and there was a big, you guys had really big success there in trying
yeah,
to in getting
it's
that.
interesting. There's still
Yeah.
people still don't realize what happened. They says, well, we
Right.
were just against the unhoused people, and
Well, that wasn't the
and that,
case at all.
no, it wasn't the case. And that means they're just not listening, and
Yeah.
they don't understand why that story was compelling, because the story was not about us versus the unhoused. My God, who doesn't have empathy for the unhoused?
Right.
Um, and the shelter that we were pushing against was a good shelter. The real question was how underrepresented communities just don't have a voice. I mean, this past election tells you that. I mean, there's not enough votes in the Chinatown International District to make a difference. That's why
Mm.
it continues to be a problematic spot, I mean,
Yeah.
which a lot of people refer to as a shithole, you know. Um, and because they don't have a voice, things happen to them. I mean, one of the things that I look back on, and I started thinking about the recent history of the neighborhood. And, one of the most monumental things that happened was putting in the navigation center,
Hmm.
which created the situation at 12th and Jackson. Um, and when you think about that, you think about what Little Saigon was, and it was vibrant. I
Right.
mean, they had shops there, people would dine there, and it slowly went away. And the thing was, it's like it's because it was slow. The people didn't recognize what was happening. You just kind of look at today and you go like, my God, what is going on there? But it wasn't always like that. So you see that in the long term of history, sort of recent history, that when decisions are made that directly impact a community and the community has no voice, the long term effects are devastating. And so I think every community needs to be heard. I mean, so it's not about the unhoused. It's really about being heard, because there is no reason on earth that these, the Chinatown International District needs to hold the largest number of shelters in the city. There's no reason for that
All right.
other than, oh, we like to centralize services. But at what cost? At what cost? Because you have now destroyed a thriving community that was essential to the Vietnamese community for a period of time.
Right.
Now that community's moved on, but that doesn't mean that area is less important.
And you and I often talk about the state of Chinatowns around the country, and that the fact that they are, we just were talking about an article out of Philadelphia where, they're looking to build a new facility there and sports facility, and it's Chinatown that could take the brunt of the hit there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that happened actually here with the Kingdome and the building of the Kingdome. And I think what you're talking about really is a voice and representation and not being taken for granted. And I know that was at the heart of what you were trying to do in bringing about the story of Chinatown and the International District during the time that the whole homeless shelter and expansion issue was being debated. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, look at the story, look at the history,
Well,
and what
and
you
not
could be destroying.
yes, and not even having a say or a negotiated outcome. That's what was most troubling. In
Yeah,
other words, we're just going to do this because we can. Well, they found out that they couldn't. Because time and time they take advantage of communities that don't speak English, don't have enough votes to make a difference.
mm,
Um, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, if you think about District 2, it is all underrepresented people. That's the majority. But again, it is the white majority that votes
yeah.
because the barriers to them aren't really barriers to voting. Whereas for other people, it is. And I think that's something that needs to be recognized.
Well, and I think as we are in a major election year,
Uh,
the same thing that could be said around the country. And this is why when you and I talk about trying to preserve democracy and, just how frustrated and we are about the whole thing with Trump and the people that follow him, uh, it becomes a very scary situation, particularly for people of color and those that aren't considered to be part of the mainstream. So, see, this is why you got plenty to live for, you know? No, really. This is why you just got to keep, and I know you're going to be doing that. You're going to be moving forward and doing that for as long as you can. So let's just keep our sights on that and, move forward and hope that the new drugs work and you finally get your hip replaced and all those things.
yeah, it's. I guess I just, the future is uncertain, but
Yeah,
the future is always uncertain.
it is.
People don't realize it. The future's nothing is promised to you.
Right.
I just have a little more certainty about the finality of things. I mean, I know that things will end sooner than I would like, but I need to be okay with how my life has gone. And I think it's, there's no regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just push on. That's
Okay.
what we can do, and just know that you have a lot of friends that are there for you and care for you, and and don't be shy about leaning on us. Okay, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. See, I don't think you're going to change that much. You're still an asshole. I don't think that that'll remain. So, yeah,
Well, yeah, and the podcast, this podcast is great. I mean, because we can talk about things that interest us
yeah,
and things that have meaning to people of color. It's really, that's what I value about this podcast is that you and I will talk. It's like that we need to talk about that,
right,
and we
right.
do.
Well,
Because
I
we don't.
think, yeah, in the case like this, our communities, we don't like to talk about illness. We don't like to talk about, things like cancer or whatever medical situation that we might be facing. We've talked a lot about how, depression and mental health is such an issue in our communities. We got to get over that because we're not helping ourselves. So
No.
I think these conversations, I think, are very important so that people understand that you can talk about it. And frankly, I think it's helpful. It really can be helpful, to know
Yeah.
there are other people that are facing the same thing.
Oh, there's a lot of people facing cancer. Cancer is
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Some people have come through the other side. Great. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Some people just are in it. And I'm one of those people, unfortunately, that's in it. And, to date, there is no cure. Unless my body miraculously decides that, okay, it'll fix it. But that doesn't seem to be in the cards. So it's a matter of just quality of life and accomplishing the things that I can. And there's still a lot I can accomplish.
Yeah. Well, let's move forward and make sure that stuff happens. Okay.
Okay.
All right, man. Hang in there, and we'll talk more.
Okay. Thanks. The Chino y Chicano podcast is available on your favorite podcast provider.
You can watch the video version on YouTube and Converge Media, a leading producer of culturally relevant content in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk more later.